I'm Rob from B&H, and in this video we're going to check out an exciting new audio interface from our friends at Universal Audio called Apollo. Now there are a lot of audio interfaces out there to choose from, but Apollo has a little something extra under the hood. That something extra is the DSP processing power to run UA's outstanding series of analog emulating plugins. Top studio engineers all over the world have come to depend on Universal Audio plugins to recreate the warm analog sound of vintage gear in their digital mixes. The Apollo interface allows you to run those plugins in real time with no discernible latency, making them available not only in the mixing stage, but in the recording stage as well. Want to track your guitar or bass using a vintage 1176 compressor and maybe a touch of EQ with a Neve 1073? Perhaps you'd like to track your vocalist with an LA2A or Fairchild 670 compressor. Well, Universal Audio's Apollo interface and plugin library allows you to digitally simulate those analog recording scenarios and many more at a fraction of what you'd spend on the real vintage gear. Let's check it out. First of all, there are two versions of the Apollo interface available, the Duo Core and the Quad Core. They're identical in every way except for the number of Shark processors that run the UA plugins. The Duo has 2 processors, while the Quad has, yes, you guessed it, 4. The more processors you have, the more plugins you can run at the same time. Inputs, outputs, connections are all the same. The fact that the processing is done on the Apollo's built-in DSP chips frees your computer's processor to do other things, like running native plugins and virtual instruments. In addition, the fact that you can track with UA plugins in the first place means you won't have to apply them in the mix stage, freeing up additional processing power. Right out of the box, Apollo is ready to connect to your computer via its FireWire 800 connection, but can also take advantage of the even faster Thunderbolt interface. But to do that, you'll have to purchase the Thunderbolt card for the Apollo separately. Apollo offers 18 inputs and 24 outputs, some analog, some digital. On the input side, we've got 8 analog inputs to work with. The first 4 inputs offer phantom power for microphones and are switchable between mic and line signals. In addition, these first 2 inputs also feature a high Z input option for guitar or bass, conveniently located on the front panel. The digitally controlled analog preamps on these 4 inputs sound excellent. They're designed to deliver high-resolution, ultra-clean sound, and the idea being that you can use the UA plugin library to color the sound if you desire. The remaining 4 balanced analog inputs are for line-level signals only and are switchable between a +4 dBu and a -10 dBV level. The remaining inputs are digital, 8 from the ADAT-S MUX Ports and 2 more from the SPDIF input. Apollo allows you to record at rates of up to 24-bit, 192 kHz. Although its sample rates over 96 kHz, you'll only have 4 of the 8 ADAT channels available. Also on the back are our word clock inputs and outputs for syncing other digital devices. In terms of outputs, of the 24 available, 14 are analog, a pair of monitor outs and 8 individual line outs for creating custom monitor mixes or routing signal to outboard gear are on the back, while the 2 stereo headphone jacks with independent volume knobs are easy to access on the front. The remaining outputs are digital, 8 via the ADAT-S MUX Ports and 2 more from the SPDIF out. While most of the controls for the Apollo will probably be done from the computer, you can make adjustments directly from the front panel. Our 8 analog inputs and monitor outs also have an easy-to-see LED meters on the front panel. The monitor volume knob also mutes the output if pressed. So that's the basics of the Apollo's ins and outs. Now let's explore how it truly shines its software and plug-in aspects. To set up custom latency-free monitor mixes for your performers and to track with UAD plugins in real time, you'll use the Apollo's included software app called Console. All our inputs can be accessed here, and we can set levels on our preamp, switch between mic and line, engage the 75 Hz high-pass filter, turn on phantom power for mics, engage the 20 dB pad, and link inputs for stereo recording. The large faders at the bottom are for our monitors only. They don't affect our tracking levels. Those are set at the top at the preamp gain. In the center on each channel are a row of inserts, and this is where we insert our UAD plugins. I'll insert an LA2A compressor. and then we'll follow that up with a Neve 1081 EQ and the Studer A800 plugin that simulates the sound of analog tape. Now that combination can be a nice way to track a vocal, for example, so if we want to commit those plugins to our recording, we go over to the Insert Effects toggle switch and simply flip it to record. Now if I don't want to print my plugins and I only want to hear them in the monitors, I simply set the toggle to monitor. Pretty simple. Console also has two aux sends available, either for setting up monitor effects like a reverb or delay for a vocalist, or for routing custom monitor mixes to the line outs. In addition, you can also set up two independent headphone mixes from the front panel in the console page. And here's a great thing. After you've set your levels and plugins and routing, all of those settings can be saved, allowing you instant recall for your next session. Very time-saving. That's the basics of Console. There's a lot more here, and keep in mind that real-time processing means that with Apollo, you can use UA plugins for live applications as well. Let's give you a little idea of Apollo and Console in action. My esteemed colleague, Mr. Lior Boyango, is going to plug his guitar into the high Z connection on input 1, and we've got an 1176 compressor on him, followed by a Neve 1073 EQ and a Roland CE1 chorus. Now let's swap out the chorus for a Roland RE201 Space Echo and have a listen to that. Now there are a number of ways to take advantage of those additional digital inputs on the Apollo, and one possibility to consider is the 4710D from Universal Audio. It's occupying the two lower level rack spaces in front of me. It's got four high-end preamps for mic and line signals with high Z inputs for guitar or bass and phantom power. There are four Class A tubes inside, and you can dial in the amount of tube you want to color the signal from 100% tube to 100% solid state. Each one has an optional 1176 style compressor. In addition, there are four line inputs that feed directly to the ADAT-S MUX bus, giving you a total of 8 analog inputs. We hooked up the ADAT and word clock connections, and the 4710D slaved perfectly to the Apollo's word clock, giving us 16 inputs to record with simultaneously. Now, I've spent time emphasizing how the Console software allows you to use Apollo to track with UA plugins in real time. But obviously, you'll also want to use UA plugins when it comes time to mix. In mix situations, we're not concerned about latency, so now you'll run your UA plugins directly from your DAW, whether it's Pro Tools, Logic, Cubase, or something else. Apollo ships with the Analog Classics bundle, and that includes the LA2A and 1176 LN compressors and the Pultec EQP1A equalizer. But of course, a lot more plugins are available for purchase from the UA website as you're ready to expand your arsenal, including the outstanding EMT 250 and 140 plate reverbs, the EP34 and RE201 tape echoes, and the Roland Dimension D chorus. Simulate the warm, vintage sound of classic tubes, magnetic tape, and Class A transformers with the Fatso Jr and Sr. SSL and Neve channel strips, precision mastering tools, classic EQs, and a lot more are all available from Universal Audio. If you're considering buying a lot of plugins for mixing, you can augment your processing power and save money by picking up the Universal Audio Satellite Quad Omni, which gives you over 50 UA plugins for a lot less money than buying them separately, and will give you an additional 4 Shark processors to run plugins when you mix. So hopefully that gives you a little introduction to the Apollo audio interface from Universal Audio. a fully featured professional level interface that allows you to record with UA's plug-in library of classic analog gear with no discernible latency. I'm Rob from B&H, and thanks for watching.
For more information, please visit us online, give us a call, or stop by our New York City Superstore. You can also connect with us on the web.